You don't lack dreams. You don't lack plans. You know exactly what you want. You've imagined your moment of success more times than you can count. But every time you're about to start, you tell yourself, not yet. I need to prepare more. I'll wait until everything is perfect. And so you keep waiting. Waiting for a feeling of readiness, without knowing if it will ever come. This is not a story about a lack of discipline. This is a story about someone who waited for the right moment for far too long. And only when he realized that his time had stopped moving, did he finally understand something painful. There are things in life that, if you don't start imperfectly, you will never start correctly. This story begins with Ethan, 28 years old, and a watch that had stopped ticking for almost a year. Ethan is 28 years old. He works in a small office tucked inside a crowded city. His job isn't bad, the salary is enough to live on, and his coworkers are easy to get along with. From the outside, his life looks fine. Every morning, Ethan puts on his shirt, grabs his backpack, and steps out of his narrow apartment into the stream of people heading to work. He stands on the subway, staring blankly through the glass. Everyone around him looks busy, rushed, as if they're all going somewhere important. Only Ethan knows that, deep down, he feels like a bystander in his own life. He goes to work, he finishes his tasks, he goes home. The days repeat themselves so smoothly that it becomes unsettling. No crisis, no major mistakes, no turning point. On Ethan's old laptop, there's a folder called Plans. He created it 3 years ago, late one night, when a sudden wave of motivation hit him. Back then, he believed that all he needed was a good enough plan, and life would automatically change. Inside the folder are dozens of neatly named files. Business plan, version 3. New skills roadmap, fitness transformation plan, life reset, final draft. Every file is carefully formatted, with clear timelines, goals broken down by weeks, months, and years. Even motivational quotes are highlighted and underlined. Anyone looking at it would think Ethan was a man with direction. But there was one truth Ethan refused to face. He had never opened any of those files to actually do the work. Every evening after work, Ethan would tell himself, just a little more preparation. He sits down, drops his backpack, opens his phone. He watches videos of successful people, listens to stories about starting from zero, years of failure, sleepless nights, and the moment life finally turned around. As he watches, Ethan thinks, I could do that too. He even takes notes, saves videos to watch later. It feels like progress. And yet, the next morning, he still doesn't start. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass. The plans remain untouched. The dreams stay in his head. And Ethan slowly becomes comfortable forgiving his own procrastination. He no longer blames himself. He just says, not yet. One late afternoon, after another long and meaningless workday, Ethan stops by an old watch repair shop hidden in a narrow alley. Near his apartment, the shop is small, filled with dim yellow light, and the faint smell of machine oil in the air. The watch on Ethan's wrist has stopped ticking a long time ago. He still wears it every day, out of habit, even though it no longer works. The watchmaker is a middle-aged man with early gray hair and hands covered in tiny scars. He works slowly, unhurried, as if time itself doesn't rush him anymore. He gently shakes the watch and asks, "How long has this been broken?" Ethan replies, "Almost a year. I kept meaning to get it fixed, but I was always busy." The watchmaker doesn't look up. He says calmly, "The watch isn't busy. Only the person wearing it is." Ethan freezes. The man opens the back of the watch and studies the mechanism. Then continues, "The machine is fine. Nothing's broken. It's just been sitting too long." The oil hardened. It needs to be restarted. Ethan asks, "How long will it take?" "A few minutes," the man says. "But there's something you need to accept." "What's that?" "When it starts running again, it won't be accurate. It'll run fast sometimes, slow other times. Only after it's running can it be adjusted." Ethan stays silent. That night, he places the repaired watch on his desk. The second hand begins to move, not smoothly, not evenly, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Ethan watches it for a long time. And for the first time in years, he asks himself a question he's always avoided. What am I really waiting for, if not the feeling of safety? He realizes an uncomfortable truth. Ethan wasn't waiting for the right time. He was waiting for a perfect version of himself, a version that doesn't exist. The next morning, Ethan does something very small. He opens his laptop, not the plans folder. He creates a new file. The file is called Start Draft. The writing is bad, unclear, unconfident, just a few lines, broken sentences, messy thoughts. But this time, they exist on the screen, not just in his head. The next day, he writes a little more. Then a little more after that. Some days he forgets. Some days he's tired. Some days he writes only a single short paragraph. But something is different now. He doesn't stop just because it's not good. A week later, Ethan notices something strange. Opening his laptop no longer feels scary. Looking at unfinished work no longer makes him feel ashamed. Instead, it becomes proof of something new. He is acting. From writing, Ethan begins to apply the same approach to other goals. He doesn't aim to get in shape. He sets a simpler goal. Put on gym clothes and go to the gym. The first day is awful. Light weights, heavy breathing, feeling awkward next to fitter people. But when he walks out of the gym, he feels something unfamiliar. He showed up. The second day, he goes again. The third day, again. Not because of motivation, but because he's getting used to acting, even without it. 3 weeks later, Ethan opens one of his old plans. This time, he doesn't read it to dream. He reads it to cross things out. He rewrites his business goal into something concrete. Build a simple prototype in 30 days. Not impressive, not perfect, but possible. 3 months pass. From the outside, Ethan's life doesn't look very different. Same job, same apartment, no big success yet. But something has changed completely. Ethan is used to action. He no longer asks, "Should I start?" He asks, "What small step can I take today?" The plans folder still exists, but next to it is a new one, in progress. Inside are unfinished things. A rough manuscript over 20,000 words. A workout schedule filled with imperfect check marks. A messy prototype full of bugs, but it works. One evening, Ethan runs into Alex, a friend who once made him feel left behind. Alex asks, "How have you been?" Ethan pauses, then answers, "I'm working on things." Alex smiles. "That sounds good." That night, Ethan comes home and places his watch on the desk. The second hand moves steadily. And Ethan finally understands something simple, something it took him years to learn. Success doesn't come from a single big decision. It comes from daring to start and repeating small actions every day, even without inspiration. Ethan doesn't know how far he'll go, but for the first time, he knows one thing for sure. Tomorrow, he will keep going. And this time, he doesn't need to become someone else to begin. The truth is this. You're not procrastinating because you're lazy. You procrastinate because you're afraid of starting the wrong way. You're afraid of not being good enough. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of looking back one day and realizing you wasted time and effort on the wrong path. So you choose to stand still. You choose to prepare a little more. You wait for a version of yourself that feels more confident, more capable, more ready. But here's the problem. That version never shows up while you're standing still. It's like a watch that has stopped ticking. You can't adjust it while it's frozen. It has to move first, even if it moves inaccurately. Plans don't create momentum. Intentions don't create change. They only create a temporary sense of safety. Only action, imperfect, messy, and incomplete, does that. Only action gives you real feedback. Only action shows you what works and what doesn't. And only action allows you to course correct along the way. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. But if you allow yourself to start clumsily, you'll learn how to move in the right direction by moving. And that's how real change begins. Do one small thing for the biggest dream you have. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be a start. Because the moment you allow yourself to move imperfectly is the moment your life starts moving for real.